Why was it important for you to become an ally at this trust?
Well, when I first noticed that there was such a difference in the way people were dealt with, which was back in the 1980s, the early 1980s, when I first joined the military, and it was very apparent then that the draconian laws or the draconian rules that prevented people from the LGBT community from serving their country. It was a case of if they wanted to serve their country and they were members of the LGBT community, they would need to hide that fact, and woe betide them if it was ever to be found out, because there was that instant dismissal from the services. I also found that if you were not the right type of person, whether you were a member of the LGBT community or not, that they would have legislation or have regulations in place to remove you for being a member of the LGBT community, even if you weren't.
So joining the trust, did you notice that sort of parallel of injustice or discrimination?
From a staff to staff perspective, no. I think we've come a long way in relation to inclusivity staff to staff. I mean, when I left the military at the back end of the 1980s, I went into hotels where I spent approximately 20 years in hotels, and the difference between the military and hotels were polar opposites. I found that when I was in hotels, people automatically accepted if you were a member of the LGBT community, whether that was the stereotypical comedic roles that were seen in the 70s and 80s of service or hospitality staff who were, because of their sexuality or sexual orientation, were, how do I say, seen as having a flair, having an eye for detail, being flamboyant. When I came here and into the NHS, it wasn't so much the staff on staff, it was the way that patients and visitors treated staff members because of their sexuality.
Let's talk about your association with the network. How did that come about?
Well, I was invited when I first got here at the start of the inclusion groups. There was the opportunity to be invited as a friend, as an ally, as a friend, to try and increase the numbers of people that were attending these inclusion groups. And I felt it was a worthwhile organisation to come and look at and see what was going on. And I felt that there was actual passion to ensure that I could be the most supportive ally I could be, whilst, ensuring that violence and aggression, which is what I lead on within the trust, if it resulted as a fact of being an identified member of the LGBT community, could be dealt with straight away.
Mark, attitudes have sort of changed in the last few decades, but actually discrimination is still about us.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's been driven not so long ago by the stereotypical view of a non-straight person. This came very much in relation to the comedic shows of the day. One of my issues that I have is the fact that I can go to a meeting of the LGBT community, and when I come out of that meeting, being a straight middle-aged man, as you say, I don't have an issue with it, but then to be asked by someone who was waiting outside to go into a meeting after, I didn't realise you were one of those, is quite a thing that you suddenly think to yourself, well, actually, is that something that should be said in this day and age? If I am, does it matter to anyone? It shouldn't.
And you've talked about your military career as well, and unfortunately you've had to brush up against similar discrimination as well, haven't you?
Absolutely. I was, as I referred to earlier, the The situation is that there were draconian regulations for even people who weren't identified as LGBT community members but could be got rid of. One example I have is that a girl that I was going out with at the time was living within the Women's Royal Air Force block. One of the things that they used to do, as you do at home, is that you are in an area, you're looking for a comfortable area to relax, to read, etc. She was within that dormitory block, lying on or resting on a bed with another female, one at one end of the bed, one at the other, and the draconian law set out that if two females or two people of the same sex were on a bed, then at least one of them had to have a foot on the floor, otherwise they would be charged with lesbianism, and that's what exactly happened to this young lady that I was seeing at the time.
And this, obviously, your experiences has driven what your passion for the network now.
It is. I mean, I want to ensure that I can fully support the chair in all the initiatives that we take forward, such things as ensuring that the lanyards, the half rainbow lanyards, are put in place. That meant also changing the policy on uniform to ensure that we could allow that the wearing of the lanyard. It's also about ensuring that people know, because of wearing the lanyard, you're there to be a proper ally, which is to support people who may be at their most vulnerable point at that time.
And what's your message to others that may want to get involved in the network or are just curious?
Come along, don't be afraid. No one's going to pressure you into to identifying as a member, an ally. Come along, see what it's like. You know, we're a friendly bunch and we want to aim to deliver the best inclusive service for our LGBT community.